Hey, sweetie, remember when we went to the one medical museum, like that had that great barn in the back with all the old hearse carriages?
Philip Pry House?
Yeah. Let's tell them about that.
Well, hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I am your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
That's right. We are going to tell you about the Philip Pry House.
That's right. But before we get into that...
Well, you took my line.
Well, you know, we could change things up once in a while. So you take mine.
But I don't remember your line. Let's do it again. But before we get into that, if you're into the... Oh, geez. It's been a while.
If you're into the paranormal,
Let me
history, or forensics type videos.
But before we get into that, if you're into the paranormal, forensic, history, and travel type videos,
then don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell so you'll hear from us next time we post a new video.
So this video that we were doing, we were halfway through when we had to take our extended break. So a lot of this stuff was already done, and we got to get it finished and get back into the groove.
Yeah, so we're going to actually finish what we started 3 years ago.
3 years ago. So we are talking about Panic D 1871, the Philip Pry House, which is located at 18906 Shepherdstown Pike in Keedysville, Maryland. We visited this location in July of 2017.
That's right. It's been a while because it was going to be a couple of years from when we started the video, and then we had the little hiatus. But it was really cool. I enjoyed it there.
This is one of those locations that we almost missed.
That's right.
So if you're out traveling, I'm going to have a little, watch the video towards the end. It's not at the end, towards the end. We're going to have something for you that might help save you where it would have helped us a long time ago. So we'll talk about that later. Okay, Philip Pry House. Let's get into the history. Marianne, take it away.
The Philip Pry House is often referred to as the birthplace of first aid and emergency medicine, as battlefield triage was laid out by Dr. Letterman here. It was a stop for Abraham Lincoln, and maybe, or maybe not, General McClellan's headquarters during the Battle of Antietam, just west of Keedysville in Maryland. The Pry House sits on land obtained by the Pry family back in 1812. Abraham Baker originally purchased the 140 acres of the resurvey of Hills and Dales Vineyard Tract on March 18th of 1812. And just over a month later, on April 26th of 1812, Baker sold 126 3/4 acres of the property to Philip Pry Sr. Philip Sr. died on May 1st of 1823. And according to his will, he left his land to his wife Susanna to manage. When Philip Jr., who was 6 years old at the time, reached the age of 21, the estate would be divided between the two sons, Philip and Samuel. Years later, as the 21st birthday approached, in April of 1839, the Pry brothers would purchase an 18-acre parcel of land, again from the tract of the resurvey of the Hill and Dales and vineyards. This portion had been owned by Catherine Hershey. According to the land records, this would adjoin the lands owned by their heirs of Philip Pry, deceased. Philip Pry House was then built in the summer of 1844 by Philip Pry and his brother Samuel on that land that they inherited from their father back in 1828. The house would be for Philip, and Samuel would have a home just north, where he would operate a mill. The house is a 2-story L-shaped brick structure on a stone foundation in the Greek Revival architectural style, with a steeply pitched roof and 2 single chimneys. The structure was made of bricks that were fired right on the property, and Philip even carved his name and date into 2 of them, one for each side of the main entrance. Once the house was completed, a 2-story large barn was constructed just down the hill from the house, with stalls, feeding mangers, and run-ins to manage the livestock on the lower level. The upper level would be used to process field crops and storehouses for grain. Just to the west side of the house was a kitchen and domestic building, which are not present today. To the front of the house, at the bottom of the slope, stood a few stone buildings, again not present today, and the root cellar, which is. According to the 1860 census, Phillips Farm was valued at $14,000 and another $1,800 in personal property. In 1861, Philip purchased more than 160 acres from Samuel Numa that he called the Lower Farm. He purchased that for $10,500. Philip would rename the 166-acre property the Bunker Hill Farm, and then he rented this farm to a tenant named Joseph Parks. In September of 1862, the Union Army took over Phillips' property to use as a staging area in preparation for the upcoming battle. The Pry House hosted the commander of the Union Army of the Potomac, General George B. McClellan, on the 16th and 17th of September, as he used it for his forward observation post. And many indicate also that he used it as his headquarters, though others believe that his headquarters was actually several miles away at the Keady Farm in Keedysville. The Pry property was also headquarters for the medical department under Dr. Major Jonathan Letterman, who was the medical director of the Army of the Potomac. Letterman remained at the house throughout the entire battle. The Pry House and barn were used as hospitals and a signal station, communicating with the Mountain Signal Station. At the time of the battle, the farm grounds included a barn, smokehouse, cave house, a spring house, and a toll house with a panoramic view of almost the entire Antietam Valley around Sharpsburg, which is why some believe it was Union Commander George McClellan's choice as headquarters, if not only as his forward observation post for the Battle of Antietam. After the battle, the Pry House served as a Union hospital. It was here that Letterman reorganized the medical department, including codifying field hospital administration and developing medical logistic operations of the Army of the Potomac for triage, procedures that are still used in one form or another in the modern military. The Pry Farm would remain a hospital for at least 2 months after the battle. 2 weeks after the battle on October 2nd, during a visit to the battlefield, President Abraham Lincoln stopped by the Pry House to visit wounded General Richardson, who would eventually succumb to his wounds after pneumonia set in, and he died in the upstairs room of the Pry House November 3rd of 1862. The government did pay damage claims to the Prys over a 7-year period, but eventually deemed part of this to be overpayment, and Philip Pry was forced to repay $1,209.38. With this financial burden, legal fees, and the attempt at getting the farm back into shape, the Prys were forced to sell the farm, and they moved to Tennessee in 1874. The farm, containing 141.5 acres, was sold to Daniel W. Wyand of Washington County for the sum of $14,172.50. Before departing for eastern Tennessee, friends and family in the community gathered and made a memory quilt as a parting gift. Many of the friends and neighbors of Philip's family had known them all of their lives and made a personalized block of the quilt with their own signatures or brief sentimental notes. That quilt is available for viewing today at the museum. The farm then changed hands 8 times until January 31st of 1956, when Leo B. and Villa M. Wyand purchased the farm and 123 acres from Victor and Ruth Stein. The Wyans continued to farm the property until 1971, when the land was resurveyed and a parcel of the 155.68 acres was sold to the Recreational Properties Associates. On March 7th of 1974, the Recreational Properties Associates then sold a tract of land containing 2 acres around the Pry House and the barn to the United States government, with a 24.67 acre scenic easement for $62,500. In the fall of 1976, unfortunately, there was an electrical fire that damaged part of the first and second floors of the house, but the National Park Service restored and renovated the structure. In 2005, the Park Service partnered with the National Civil War Medicine Museum to establish the Pry House Field Hospital Museum. Today, the Pry House is one of 2 farmsteads on the battlefield that are open to the public, and is home to the National Museum of Civil War Medicine. At the Pry House, one is able to explore the house, barn, and grounds of the farm, and learn about the medical aspects of the battle. You can immerse yourself in a recreation of a Civil War operating theater, explore interpretive panels and objects relating to the care of wounded and the effects on the civilian population in the area, as well as hear of the tragic story of the Pry family and how their farm became an important part of history. Since the spring of 2016, they've also been restoring and revitalizing the medicinal garden at the Pry House Field Hospital Museum. It's been restored to its original location in raised beds. The plants in this garden represent those that would have been used during the Civil War to relieve symptoms including pain, intestinal complaints, fever, colds, coughs and headaches, and the most dangerous foe of a soldier, diarrhea and dysentery.
So this is our new style of videos. We're calling them chapter videos. It's kind of laid out like a chapter in a book.
You mean kind of like each location has its own chapter, like in our original book on St. Augustine?
Yeah, where we talk about the history, the paranormal, and our personal experiences, some tips if you're going to want to visit, that kind of thing.
All right. I like it.
So this next section would be about the paranormal. So the paranormal...
Hey, wait a minute. That's my part. You're not going to do this without me, are you?
All right. Relax. Okay.
Boris missed you too.
So for the paranormal, let's let Boris do his thing.
Located overlooking the Antietam battlefield is the Philip Pry House, a brick farmhouse that was commandeered by the Union General George McClellan to use as his headquarters during the battle. It was also the place where General Israel B. Richardson died of wounds that he received in the battle after complications due to pneumonia. The house today is owned by the National Park Service and is only open to visitors on the weekends. Although, my friends, this does not stop strange stories from being told about the place. In 1976, the Pry House caught fire and about 1/3 of it was gutted. It was during the restoration of the house that many strange events were reported. One day during a meeting of park personnel, the wife of one of the men in the meeting met a woman in old-fashioned clothing coming down the staircase. She later asked her husband who the lady was in a long dress, but he had no idea who she was talking about. A short time later, workers arrived at the house to see a woman standing in the upper window, the same room where General Richardson had died. They searched the house, and after going upstairs, they realized that the room where the woman had been standing had no floor. Could the ghost be that of Richardson's wife, Fanny, who cared for him on his deathbed? This would not be the last time the ghost was seen, my friends, and on one occasion during the restoration project, a new contracting crew had to be hired when one that was working in the house caught a glimpse of a spectral figure and immediately abandoned the project. Another piece of reported phenomenon is the phantom footsteps that have been heard going up and down the staircase. Could they have belonged to worried generals pacing up and down in anticipation of the battle? Or perhaps is this Fanny again, Fanny Richardson, as she climbed the stairs to check on her dying husband? No one knows for sure, but those who have heard them are convinced they are not just the sounds of the old house settling. Moving forward, my friends, to 2005, the National Museum of Civil War Medicine partnered with the National Park Service to open a museum at the Pry House. That's when the museum staff started experiencing some strange sights and sounds. The executive director reported that on his first day there, he needed to clear out some items from the interior of the house to make room for exhibits. It was a nice day outside, so he opened all the doors to make it easier to carry things outside. Starting at the front door, each door slammed shut in succession until they were all closed again. While the wind could have swung the front door shut, it wouldn't have caused all of the interior doors to slam shut as well. He opened them once again, and this time the back door slammed shut first, followed by the rest of the doors in order all the way to the front of the house. The director of the Lantherman Institute had an issue with one of the doors as well. In her own words, my friends, she said, while running an overnight program at the Pry House, during a bad thunderstorm, my small group bedded down for the night. After making my rounds and locking up for the night, I fell asleep downstairs in what is now the store, only to be awakened around 1:30 a.m. to the sound of pacing on the front porch and a strange metallic scratching noise. When I opened my eyes, I realized that the key was turning in the lock. It was an old skeleton key that was difficult for me to turn, as I had locked up hours before. I am not sure whether the key was turning to let whoever was outside in, or to keep them out, but either way, I didn't want to know then. Another guest services staff member recently spent the night in the house and heard some strange noises as well, my friends. He reports, I was up rather late after work in the office above the bookstore. I was on my computer. All the doors were locked and had been since 5 p.m. Suddenly, there was a loud banging noise from the front of the house, sounding like it was coming from the front upstairs hallway between the Richardson room and the green room. Initially, I thought it was just one of those random noises that the house makes, but several more loud thumps and bangs followed the first one. I thought it sounded like someone was pacing back and forth along the hallway. This back and forth continued off and on for about an hour. I never went to go and check it out. Starting a little bit after the thumping, banging, and stomping, I began to hear what sounded like a couple of indistinct voices having a conversation in the house. Most of the voices sounded like they were coming from the former parlor. I could definitely identify a male voice and at least 2 separate female voices, but could not discern anything they were saying. I barricaded myself in the bedroom for the night. I had a lot of trouble sleeping and was glad to see the morning when it finally came. Other museum staff members have reported hearing footsteps in the house and out on the porch, having doors slam and lock behind them, hearing voices, finding the house lights turned back on after the house has been locked up and alarmed, and seeing lights moving through the house after dark. The Pry barn is included as well. People have seen lights in there too, and have heard voices talking and singing in the barn. Could the general still be roaming the house and grounds? Is Fanny Richardson still there trying to care for her dying husband? Are the Prys back at the farmhouse that they loved and was taken from them? We may never know, my friends, but if you visit the Antietam battlegrounds, make sure you stop by the Philip Pry House and see if you have experiences for yourself.
So some of those claims was an issue with a locked door.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to tell them about the experience that we had. But before we did, I promised them if they were going to watch this far, we were going to have something for them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you remember when we used to be able to get triptychs,
Yeah.
and everyone uses Google Maps now, what if there was a way to combine the two together? Well, we use a service. It's called Road Trippers.
Mm-hmm.
But what's nice about it is when you plan a trip, you can zoom out as you're going and see if you're going to miss a location. It also shows you where the gas stations are and where the hotels are and restaurants, food, attraction, all that. Okay, so since you watched this far, I'm going to have a little treat for you. You take $5 off if you want to sign up for Road Trippers. The link is down in the description. Under the link, it'll say code and a code. If you use that code, you can take $5 off. And you know what? This isn't that expensive. It's less than like $25 a year.
Yeah, it's a really great value. I love it.
She loves it. So we can plan out all of our trips, look and see if there's anything we want to get along the way, and it syncs with our phones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we've
Check
been
it
off.
out.
We've been making some trips. We've
Yes.
been planning some stuff.
So check it out. Maybe it'll help you. Okay, so back to our personal experience. Go ahead. Tell them about the door.
We couldn't get in. So first of all, you know, when you look at the building, you're like, oh, okay, we go to the front door. So you go to the front door and it's like, yeah, no, you don't enter here. I'm like, okay. So we walked around facing the building. We walked around to the left thinking there'd be a door around that side, but it turns out it's all the way on the right. So we walked around the entire building basically before we got to the door that you can go in, which is at their gift shop and where you go in at. When we got to the door, tried turning the knob and it was locked. I'm like, seriously, it says they're open. And we were gonna walk away.
Almost left.
Yeah, we went. They have a little medicinal garden outside of the where the door to get in is. It's kind of out on that side of the property, and so we were starting to look around there. And eventually, somebody came and they came out the door, and they're like, "Are you trying to get in?"
Yeah. Are you here for a tour? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, but the door was locked, and they're like, no, it wasn't.
So you found it like on the map. Like we went to Antietam battlefield. We're driving, and you said, "Oh, there's a field hospital. Oh, that's a medical
museum,
Civil War medical museum. We got to hit that."
Yeah,
we went looking for this place. Almost drove by it, and then
it's
driving
really far back too.
Yeah, driving back to it. Wow, was it creepy? Like you're in the middle of like nowhere. Like there was nobody around. Like, are we in the right place? Are we going to get arrested? Because this is like
it's
park.
like, is this like somebody's like driveway? Is
Should
this
we be
the
here?
park?
Should we not be here? And then when we parked and got out, we walked all around that building trying to get it up the hill, which must have been like a like their carriage went up around the back of the house because it was it was hot. And yeah, when we finally got inside, it was nice to get in there with the air conditioning and cool down. I was like, it's like, that was a good part for me. I was melting like a toasted cheeser.
Well, for me, I enjoyed pretty much everything else. Like I could care less about the air conditioning.
And you know what? We get comments and down in the comments like, well, you keep complaining how it's hot. Why are you going in July? That's when I'm off.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I have a weight problem and heat. It's a weight loss program for the month of July. Okay. Anyways.
I
don't know if all this will make the video or not. Who cares? It's funny.
Anyways, inside it's really it's amazing. I really liked it. So when you go in, you go through the gift shop. You come back out through the gift shop too, so don't worry too bad if you miss something there at the beginning. But you see the blanket. There's a blanket that all of the town basically made when the Prys were moving away, and it's there in the museum. You get to take a look at that. They have some really great historical displays, and then going upstairs and getting to see yet another space that Abraham Lincoln was in, because he visited.
Yes.
And then going across the hall and getting to see all the little instruments and everything. It was really cool.
And we caught an EVP. We caught an EVP there. That video's been out on the channel for a while. So it actually went out right before our little break. But I'll put a link to it, and there'll be a link down in the description of an EVP that we caught in that room. So
yeah, but then it doesn't stop there. When we went out into the outside, into the barn, we got to see the medical ambulances from the day and everything. Got to sit inside of one. We have a picture.
Stretchers.
Yeah, it's really. I enjoyed it so much.
I wish we would have did like a EVP session or a spirit box or something in that barn.
In the barn.
I don't know why we didn't. I don't know where we like. I can't remember where we like had to get somewhere else, or I don't know why, but we should have, because I don't know if we'll ever make it back there. We might. We never know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy to find. So if you're going to go, make sure you have the address from Panic D and you can find it.
Yeah. And actually, it was this location that I believe was what made me want to do cards for each of the locations. And when we started going and taking other groups on tours, I used to make a trading card basically for each of the locations that we went, because when we were at the Philip Pry House, they had some cards, one for the Philip Pry House, of course, but also for, Clara Barton and things.
Yeah.
So we got to have some of those. And I'm like, how cool would this be when we take all of our guests on things that we give them?
Well, we talked about one time of having our Haunted Travels cards. Mm-hmm. Maybe we might get back into that again.
Never know. Never know.
Never know. Okay, do you have anything else to add?
I always do. Like I said, I really enjoyed the medicinal garden too. I thought that was really cool that they've put that back to being what they had there at the time. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up. So until next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting.
Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell, so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting!